The pre-dawn desert stretched out, an ocean of sleeping sand bathed in the anemic glow of a crescent moon. A chilling silence hung heavy, broken only by the whisper of a dry wind sifting through unseen dunes, and then a faint, insistent whimper. It was a sound incongruous with the vast ancient isolation of this place, a sound of vulnerability and desperate effort. Through the swirling dust motes, a small fawn-colored form emerged, a beagle, digging with an almost frantic energy. Its paws, stained dark with damp earth, moved with a relentless rhythm, scooping sand away with an urgency that spoke of something profound hidden beneath the surface. Its short tail wagged not with joy, but with a tense, focused determination, a silent promise of allegiance to whatever it was so desperately trying to unearth. The air was still cool, clinging to the ground like a phantom shroud, but beads of sweat glistened on the dog's brow, testimony to its tireless labor. Miles away, within the sterile confines of a mobile command unit designed for extreme environments, Captain Anya Sharma meticulously reviewed topographical maps projected onto a holographic display. Her fingers, deft and precise, navigated the complex digital terrain, marking potential sites with a professional detachment that belied the arduous nature of their mission. Anya was a woman carved from pragmatism and intellect, her sharp gaze missing no detail. With close-cropped dark hair and eyes that held the keen intelligence of a seasoned leader, she commanded a specialized archaeological reconnaissance unit. Their assignment? To scour this remote, politically sensitive desert region for ancient artifacts, items that could rewrite history or unlock cultural narratives long forgotten. Her team was a finely tuned machine, each member an expert in their field, operating with calibrated efficiency under her stringent command. They understood the stakes, the geopolitical ramifications, the historical significance, the sheer peril of working in such an unforgiving landscape. Captain, seismic readings indicate unusual subsurface anomalies 2 clicks northeast of grid Alpha 3, reported Sergeant Miller, his voice a calm monotone through the comms. Anya nodded, her eyes already tracing the coordinates. Confirm depth and potential composition, Sergeant. Let's not waste time chasing mirages. Her unit was known for its relentless focus, its ability to cut through the noise and deliver results. Distractions were a luxury they could not afford in this theater of operations. Then, a sudden, unexpected blip appeared on the long-range thermal scanner feed, overlaid onto Anya's display. A small, warm signature, too small for a human, too erratic for local wildlife. Captain, we have an unauthorized biological signature at current coordinates, updated Private Chen, his voice tinged with surprise. Unidentified canine, sir. Appears to be digging. Anya zoomed in, her brow furrowing slightly. The image on the screen was grainy but unmistakable. A beagle, its head low to the ground, paws a blur of motion. She felt a flicker of something akin to annoyance. An abandoned dog here, in the middle of nowhere? It defied logic, violated every operational protocol. Their mission was paramount, sensitive, and strictly time-sensitive. A lost pet, no matter how endearing, was a complication, a potential compromise of their covert presence. "Canine, are you certain, Chen?" she asked, her voice even, betraying nothing of her internal assessment. "Confirm species and behavior. Is it exhibiting any signs of distress or aggression?" "Affirmative, Captain. Definitely a beagle, and it's digging with remarkable persistence, sir. Not wandering, not scavenging. Just digging at one spot, almost desperately," Chen replied, a hint of genuine puzzlement in his tone. Anya paused. Her training dictated immediate avoidance, maintaining mission integrity above all. Yet, the image of the small dog, indefatigably toiling in the vast emptiness, stirred something within her, a faint ripple in her rigid command structure. The ethical consideration was immediate and sharp. Proceed with the mission, ignoring the animal's plight, or divert resources, however briefly, to this unexpected encounter. The logical side of her brain screamed to bypass, to maintain distance, to adhere to the strictures of their directive. But the relentless focus of the dog, its unwavering commitment to its task, suggested something more than mere instinct. It hinted at purpose, at a hidden intention that resonated strangely with their own quest for hidden truths. The beagle wasn't just digging, it was guarding, protecting something unseen beneath the ancient, unforgiving sands. This wasn't a stray, this was a sentinel. The team's internal chatter quieted, a shared sense of unease and curiosity passing through the comms. They, too, wondered about the anomaly, the small, furry interruption to their meticulously planned operation. Anya knew they were waiting for her command, for the logical, objective directive that would set them back on course. But something held her back, an intuitive pull towards the beagle's inexplicable persistence. Its frantic, almost ceremonial excavation seemed to call to something deeper than just scientific curiosity. What could a lone dog be guarding with such fervent dedication in a place where only the wind dared to linger? Before we uncover what this brave beagle is guarding under the shifting sands, and before Captain Sharma makes a decision that could change everything for her mission, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Join our incredible community for more astonishing stories like this, and be the first to know what happens next in this thrilling discovery. The beagle's frantic, unwavering digging continued, a relentless blur of sandy paws and determined sniffs. It ignored their hushed calls, the tempting crinkle of the ration pack, and even Captain Sharma's gentle attempts to coax it away with an outstretched hand. Its focus was absolute, an almost primal intensity that suggested not mere curiosity, but an innate understanding of something hidden beneath the desert floor. Sharma, a woman whose entire career was built on rigorous protocols and objective assessment, felt an unfamiliar ripple of unease. This wasn't just a lost dog. This was a creature on a mission, and its persistence was beginning to chip away at her carefully constructed pragmatism. She radioed her team, ordering a brief, unscheduled pause in their primary mission. Hold position, team. We have an anomaly. Focus our ground-penetrating radar on the dog's location. See if there's anything unusual beneath the surface. Almost immediately, the readings started coming in. Not precisely anomalous, not yet, but certainly interesting. The subsurface imaging showed a faint, rhythmic density variation directly beneath where the beagle was burrowing. It wasn't natural rock, nor was it loose sand. It hinted at something uniform, something placed. The raw data flashed across her tablet, confirming her growing suspicion. Something man-made lay buried there. The desert, usually a canvas of ancient natural formations, was now hinting at a different kind of history, one uncovered not by their sophisticated equipment, but by the relentless paws of a small bedraggled canine. A sharp, impatient voice cut through the comms. "Captain, with all due respect, our primary objective is the southeastern quadrant. We're already behind schedule, and chasing after a stray animal is hardly conducive to mission success." It was Dr. Aris Thorne, the team's lead archaeologist. Thorne was brilliant, undeniably, with a mind like a steel trap when it came to deciphering ancient scripts and pottery shards. But he was also notoriously rigid, his priorities as sharply defined as the desert horizon. For Thorne, the mission was paramount, a sacred trust to unearth verifiable historical data. Animals, especially those that disrupted his meticulous timelines, were simply inconvenient variables. He viewed the beagle as a distraction, a biological interference in their carefully planned scientific endeavor. Sharma could practically hear the condescension in his tone, a subtle implication that her momentary lapse in focus was unprofessional. "Dr. Thorne," Sharma replied, her voice even, "the subsurface anomalies warrant investigation. The GPR indicates something patent, not geological. Could be a structure, a burial site, or nothing at all. But it's worth a preliminary look. Prioritizing flexibility is often as crucial as adhering to the plan. Even as she spoke, she knew Thorn would bristle. He saw flexibility as weakness, an invitation for chaos. "A dog-led excavation?" Thorn scoffed, the sound crackling indignantly through her earpiece. "Captain, we are an archaeological reconnaissance unit, not a lost pet rescue service. This is an ill-advised diversion that risks our entire operational timeline and potentially compromises the integrity of our survey data. The political climate here is volatile enough without us drawing attention to ourselves over a common cur." Sharma sighed internally. Thorn wasn't wrong about the political climate. Every move they made was under scrutiny. But something about the Beagle's unwavering resolve, its utter single-mindedness, resonated with a deeper, more intuitive part of her that her military training often suppressed. It was a gut feeling, a prickle of intuition that whispered this was more than just a stray. "Dr. Thorn, that common cur has located a subsurface anomaly our equipment initially missed." "We investigate," Sharma stated, her tone firm, leaving no room for further debate. "Prepare a small excavation kit. Limited scope. Perimeter security remains active." She watched as the team, albeit with some visible reluctance from Thorn's direction, began to gather the tools for a shallow dig. The Beagle, seemingly aware of their intent, let out a low growl, a sound that was surprisingly deep for its size. It continued to dig, but now its movements were infused with a new urgency, an almost desperate fervor. As the first team members approached the spot with shovels and brushes, the dog became increasingly agitated. Its growls intensified, its tail stiffened, and it began to pace in tight circles around the small patch of disturbed sand, occasionally snapping towards the approaching tools. It wasn't just digging anymore, it was guarding. This wasn't the behavior of a lost, desperate animal seeking help or food. This was the fierce, territorial protectiveness of a sentinel. Its eyes, previously wide with a kind of anxious determination, now narrowed, holding a fierce, almost ancient wisdom. It was behaving less like a domestic pet and more like a guardian, utterly dedicated to whatever secret lay beneath the shifting sands. The early morning light, still soft and ethereal, cast long, dancing shadows, making the small Beagle appear larger, more formidable, a silent furry protector standing guard over a mystery no human eye had yet perceived. Sharma felt an unexpected shiver trace down her spine. Whatever the Beagle was guarding, it was clearly of immense significance to this small, courageous creature. The command plans, previously so clear and precise, were already beginning to shift, subtly, irrevocably, guided not by satellite telemetry, but by the quiet, insistent will of a desert dog. The carefully arranged stones, ancient and worn, yielded with surprising ease as the team, now working with a newfound urgency, began to clear the sandy earth. Each rock, larger than the last, seemed to have been placed with deliberate intent, forming a protective cap over whatever lay beneath. The Beagle, its earlier frantic energy now replaced by a watchful intensity, whined softly, circling the periphery of the makeshift excavation site. Its eyes, deep and knowing, never left the spot. Captain Sharma, sweat beading on her brow despite the cool desert morning, felt a prickle of unease. This was no random burial. This was an intentional concealment, a reverence in the laying of stones. Dr. Thorn, surprisingly, was less vocal now, his usual scientific detachment replaced by a quiet, focused determination as he directed his segment of the team. The subsurface anomalies had proven accurate, indicating a distinct void beneath the surface. With the final large stone carefully lifted, the desert floor revealed not merely a hole, but a shallow, ancient burial site. It was compact, almost intimate in its scale. The Beagle, at this site, let out a mournful, drawn-out howl, a sound that carried across the serene desert landscape, echoing the profound sorrow of ages. It was a sound that made the hairs on Sharma's arms stand on end, a primal expression of grief and guardianship. Then, with a gentle, almost deliberate movement, the dog nudged the last vestiges of sand away from the center of the cavity with its nose, revealing its long-guarded secret. There, nestled within the earth, was a small, exquisitely preserved wooden casket. Its craftsmanship was unlike anything Sharma or Thorn had ever encountered documented in this arid region. The wood, dark and highly polished, seemed to defy the centuries of burial, its surface smooth and unblemished by decay. Intricate carvings adorned its sides, delicate patterns that swirled and intertwined, hinting at a culture entirely unknown to their current archaeological records. The casket itself was a masterpiece, its very presence a testament to an advanced artistry that defied their expectations for the area. It was not a grand sarcophagus meant for royalty, but something far more personal, more sacred in its understated elegance. Cautiously, Sharma directed her team to extract the casket, handling it with the utmost care, as if touching a fragile piece of time itself. The air around it felt different, charged with a subtle energy that hummed just beneath the surface of perception. As the lid was gently prized open, a process that took several tense minutes due to the ancient interlocking wooden mechanism, a soft, ethereal light began to emanate from within. It was not a harsh, electrical glow, but a warm, pulsating luminescence, like captured starlight. Inside the casket, they found not human remains, nor even animal bones as might be expected given the Beagle's presence. Instead, a collection of ancient artifacts lay nestled on a bed of dried, impossibly preserved herbs. Each item glowed with its own unique intensity and hue, a silent symphony of light. There were small, polished stones that pulsed with a deep sapphire blue, metallic discs that shimmered with an emerald green, and even fragments of what looked like petrified wood that emitted a soft golden yellow. They were unlike any known material, their composition defying immediate classification through the team's portable scanners, which merely registered an unprecedented energy signature. Among these luminous treasures, one particular artifact stood out, drawing the eye and the spirit. It was a small, intricately carved statue of a dog, its form uncannily similar to the beagle that had led them here. Its eyes, though unseeing, seemed to hold an ancient wisdom, and its posture, a serene dignity. This dog statue, carved from a material that seemed to absorb and radiate light simultaneously, emitted the strongest, most vibrant luminescence of all the objects. Its glow was a pure, unwavering silver, casting an almost hypnotic spell over the observers. The beagle, its mournful howl now silenced, moved closer to the open casket, its nose twitching. It looked from the glowing dog statue to its human companions, a silent communication passing between them. Then, in a gesture that seemed both ancient and utterly natural, it gently nudged the statue with its nose, as if acknowledging a long-lost kin. This stunning revelation immediately shattered the team's preconceived notions about the site's significance. This was not merely an archaeological find. It was something far older, far more profound, touching upon realms of belief and existence they were unprepared for. Dr. Thorne, usually so quick to intellectualize and categorize, found himself speechless, his eyes wide with a mixture of disbelief and dawning wonder. The glowing artifacts pulsed, painting the otherwise stark desert tableau with an otherworldly light. Captain Sharma, her pragmatic mind grappling with the impossible, felt an undeniable shift in her perspective. The beagle, the burial, the inexplicable luminescence, it all coalesced into a realization that transcended mere science. The command plans, the very nature of their mission, had irrevocably changed in that luminous desert dawn. They were no longer simply searching for historical relics. They had stumbled upon something that redefined history itself, guarded by a creature that seemed to embody its eternal spirit. The desert, which had seemed so desolate moments before, now throbbed with an ancient living mystery. The luminescence emanating from the artifacts within the ancient casket cast a mesmerizing glow across the desert floor, painting the faces of Sharma's team with an ethereal light. It wasn't just a visual spectacle. A strange, calming energy seemed to radiate from the glowing objects, washing over them all. Even the perpetually cynical Dr. Thorne, usually armed with a retort for every anomaly, found his features softened by this unexpected aura. His brow, typically furrowed in skepticism, had smoothed, and a faint, almost imperceptible smile touched the corners of his lips as he gazed at the exquisite dog statue. He seemed momentarily disarmed, caught in the silent wonder of the moment, his scientific rigor momentarily eclipsed by something far more primal. The Beagle, now calmer after its frantic digging and mournful howl, sat protectively beside the open casket, its dark eyes fixed on the glowing contents, particularly the dog statue that mirrored its own form. It was no longer agitated, no longer displaying the frantic energy of a lost animal. Instead, a serene watchfulness settled over it. An ancient guardianship resumed. Sharma watched it, a new layer of understanding beginning to unfold in her mind. This wasn't merely a stray dog, it was a sentinel, an integral part of this profound discovery. Its connection to the site, to the artifacts, was undeniable, palpable. Captain Sharma, her military training instilling a need for order and logical explanation, felt her scientific understanding of the world begin to fray at the edges. This wasn't a geologically explainable phenomenon, nor a typical archaeological dig. The artifacts, their inexplicable glow, the Beagle's uncanny intuition, the palpable energy in the air, it all pointed to something far beyond the realm of conventional science. This was not just an archaeological find, a collection of ancient objects to be catalogued and studied. This was something deeper, more profound, possibly even spiritual. It felt ancient, sacred, and imbued with an inexplicable power that resonated deep within her. Her initial mission, a meticulous search for tangible historical relics, now seemed almost trivial in comparison to the unfolding mystery before her. The command plans that had once dictated their every move, the logistical precision of their operation, now felt like echoes from a different world. This site demanded a different approach, a reverence that transcended mere scientific inquiry. A cold desert wind swept across the expanse, a stark reminder of their vulnerability, yet the warmth from the glowing artifacts seemed to offer a strange, comforting defiance. Suddenly, a series of faint, rhythmic pulses registered on the team's long-range sensors, pulling Sharma abruptly from her contemplation. The digital display on her wrist-mounted device flickered, showing blips on the distant horizon. "Captain, I'm detecting unusual aerial activity," reported Specialist Chen, his voice taut with concern. "Multiple signatures closing fast. Unidentified drone type, sir or ma'am." His correction was automatic, but his focus was clearly on the rapidly approaching threat. Sharma zoomed in on the tactical display. The blips were indeed drones, but their energy signatures were unlike anything in their known inventory. They were fast, silent, and moving, with an unnerving purpose directly toward their position. "How many?" she asked, her voice calm despite the surge of adrenaline. "At least 6, possibly more, Captain," Chen replied, his fingers flying across his console. "Altitude, speed. They're not commercial, and they're not ours." A new, urgent threat had materialized, swiftly escalating the stakes. The calming energy of the artifacts abruptly gave way to a prickling sense of danger. Someone else knew about this place, or perhaps was drawn by the very energy signature the artifacts were emitting. The thought sent a chill down Sharma's spine. The unique energy that imbued these ancient objects was not only a source of wonder but also a beacon in the vast, empty desert, attracting attention from unknown entities. This wasn't just about preserving history anymore. It was about protecting it from forces that might exploit or destroy it. Dr. Thorne, despite his momentary awe, quickly reverted to his pragmatic self, his eyes darting from the artifacts to the distant horizon on Chen's screen. "Captain, if those are hostile, we need to secure these immediately," he stated, his voice regaining its usual academic precision, yet laced with a new urgency. Their energy signature could be what's drawing them. Sharma nodded, her gaze fixed on the approaching blips. Her mind raced, processing the new variables. The Beagle, as if sensing the shift in mood and the impending danger, let out a low guttural growl, its protective stance hardening. It looked from the distant threats to the glowing casket, then back to Sharma, an unspoken plea in its eyes. Its connection to this place, to these ancient secrets, ran deeper than she could have ever imagined. It wasn't just guarding objects. It was guarding something sacred, something vitally important. Sharma reflected on the Beagle's inexplicable connection to the site and the artifacts, questioning her purely scientific understanding of the world all over again. Her training had taught her to analyze, to categorize, to apply logic. But this encounter, this dog, this luminous discovery, defied all such attempts. There was an intelligence in the Beagle's eyes, a profound understanding that transcended animal instinct. It moved with a purpose, a quiet dignity that suggested it was part of a much larger, ancient narrative. Thorn, while still cautious, now carried a flicker of awe that hadn't been there before. He wasn't just seeing artifacts, he was witnessing a living connection, an unfolding mystery that challenged every tenet of his academic discipline. The threat of the drones, instead of simply being a logistical problem, now felt like an attack on something truly invaluable, something he was suddenly compelled to defend. The desert, which had moments ago seemed to promise only quiet wonder, now hummed with the prelude of conflict, a stark reminder that profound discoveries often come with profound challenges. The race to protect these ancient wonders had just begun. The serene glow from the artifacts, initially a source of otherworldly calm, now began to feel like a beacon in the vast, unforgiving desert. Captain Sharma's tactical mind, honed by years of field experience, immediately registered the potential danger. The long-range sensors, which had previously detected only the silent whispers of the wind and the distant hum of their own equipment, now screamed with urgency. Multiple aerial signatures, fast-moving and unmistakably artificial, were closing in. These weren't commercial flights or research drones. Their erratic flight patterns and rapid acceleration were characteristic of advanced surveillance or reconnaissance units designed for stealth and speed. The serene glow, so captivating just moments ago, felt like a spotlight in the pre-dawn darkness, attracting unwelcome eyes. "Thorn, status report on those signatures." Sharma's voice, though sharp, held a tremor of concern. Her hand instinctively went to the comms device on her shoulder, ready to issue commands. Dr. Thorn, jolted from his contemplative trance by the sudden shift in atmosphere, scrambled back to the portable sensor console. His fingers flew across the interface, his earlier awe replaced by a focused intensity. "Closing in fast, Captain. 3 distinct heat signatures, possibly more behind them. They're not ours, definitely not civilian. High altitude, then dropping rapidly. Looks like a coordinated approach." The words hung heavy in the air, painting a stark picture of impending threat. Sharma immediately understood the gravity of their situation. "Secure the artifacts now. Everything back into the containers carefully, and prepare for a potential hostile engagement. Perimeter defenses up, non-lethal deterrents ready." The team, a well-oiled machine under pressure, sprang into action. The ethereal beauty of the glowing relics was quickly overshadowed by the chilling reality of their vulnerability. Each glowing stone, each shimmering disk, was meticulously placed back into a specially designed insulated container, their light momentarily dimmed, then hidden entirely as the lids snapped shut. The small wooden casket, still radiating a faint warmth, was carefully closed and secured. Throughout the hurried preparations, the Beagle remained steadfast. It had not moved from its position by the now closed casket, its eyes, deep and knowing, fixed on Sharma. It seemed to understand the urgency, the impending peril that now threatened not just them, but the ancient treasures it had guarded for so long. There was no fear in its gaze, only a resolute watchfulness. Its presence, a constant reminder of the extraordinary nature of their discovery, fueled Sharma's dilemma. This was no longer just about protecting her team and securing a valuable archaeological find. It was about safeguarding something far greater, something the Beagle seemed to embody, a profound connection to the past, a spiritual legacy. The artifacts themselves, with their inexplicable energy, felt vital, intrinsically linked to the fate of the world in a way Sharma couldn't yet articulate, but deeply felt. The drones, now visible as rapidly approaching, dark specks against the still darkening sky, were getting closer with alarming speed. Their silent descent was unnerving, a predatory grace that spoke volumes of their advanced design. Sharma faced an agonizing decision. Her primary directive was the safety of her unit. Evacuation was the safest course of action, abandoning the site and these extraordinary discoveries to an unknown aggressor. But the thought of leaving the casket, the Beagle, and the incredible relics to fall into potentially hostile hands gnawed at her. The unique nature of the artifacts made their preservation paramount, not just for archaeological study but for something far grander. Her scientific training battled with an emerging intuition, a feeling that these objects held significance beyond any material value. Just as the first drone, a silent, menacing silhouette, began its final descent towards their position, a truly astonishing event unfolded. The Beagle, which had been sitting so still, suddenly tensed. A low growl rumbled in its chest, not of aggression, but of profound concentration. Then, a faint, shimmering light began to emanate from its fur, mirroring the internal glow of the artifacts that were now safely inside their containers. The light started as a subtle aura, barely perceptible, but rapidly intensified, expanding outward from the Beagle like concentric ripples in a pond. It was a soft, silvery radiance, strikingly similar to the powerful luminescence emitted by the dog statue found within the casket. This growing light formed a protective, almost ethereal dome around the entire burial site and the team, just as the drone was about to breach their airspace. The first drone, caught in the expanding field of energy, suddenly sputtered. Its advanced navigation system seemed to glitch, its smooth descent becoming erratic, jerky. It wobbled violently, veering off course, its internal lights flickering before it spiraled away, momentarily crippled by the unseen force. A second and third drone, following closely, experienced similar disruptions, their sophisticated electronics going haywire as they brushed against the shimmering barrier. One spun wildly before recovering, while another seemed to momentarily freeze in midair, its sensors overloaded. The effect was not destructive, but disruptive, a gentle yet firm pushback. The Beagle, now glowing with a brilliant silver-white light, stood its ground, its body trembling slightly with the effort. Its eyes, previously full of ancient wisdom, now burned with an intense, focused energy. The protective aura pulsed, holding the hostile drones at bay, momentarily disrupting their approach. The team, momentarily stunned by this unbelievable display, could only stare in awe at the radiant canine. Thorn, his mouth agape, whispered, It's protecting us. It's defending the site, just like the artifacts." Sharma, though still processing the impossible, felt a surge of renewed hope and an undeniable connection to this extraordinary creature, whose actions had just bought them precious time. The stakes had never been higher, and the silent, glowing guardian had just changed the game. The desert night, illuminated by an inexplicable light, now hummed with the tension of an impending and utterly unprecedented confrontation. The drones, their metallic forms glinting malevolently against the pre-dawn sky, pressed their assault despite the shimmering barrier the Beagle had conjured. The protective energy, emanating in waves from the valiant dog, acted like a shimmering, invisible shield, causing the first few attack craft to veer wildly. Their targeting systems momentarily scrambled. But their numbers were too great, their programming relentless. One by one, they adjusted, their optical sensors piercing the light, their sonic emitters focusing on points of weakness. Sharma's team, armed with their limited array of non-lethal deterrents, unleashed sonic pulses and focused electromagnetic bursts, hoping to disable the encroaching threat without resorting to lethal force that could attract even more unwanted attention. The air hummed with the clash of advanced technology against an ancient ethereal power. Each successful hit on a drone sent a jolt through the team, a brief flicker of hope, but the sheer volume of the attackers was overwhelming. Explosions, more akin to sharp, percussive thuds than roaring blasts, punctuated the early morning, as disabled drones plummeted to the sand, their circuits sparking. Sharma watched, her heart a frantic drum against her ribs, as the Beagle strained, its luminous aura flickering with each expended burst of energy. The dog, which had moments ago seemed imbued with boundless, ancient power, now showed clear signs of fatigue. Its breaths came in shallow gasps, its body trembling almost imperceptibly, yet its eyes, fixed on the approaching menace, burned with an unyielding resolve. It was holding its ground, a small, courageous sentinel against an onslaught of cold, unfeeling machinery. Captain Sharma, a woman whose life had been dedicated to logic, strategy, and the predictable rhythms of command, felt an unprecedented wave of emotion surge through her. Witnessing the Beagle's unwavering dedication, its profound and inexplicable connection to the ancient artifacts nestled within the casket, struck a chord deep within her soul. It wasn't just a dog fighting a battle. It was a testament to something primordial, a guardianship that transcended species and time. The sheer, unadulterated courage radiating from the animal, even as its strength visibly waned, ignited a fierce, protective fire within her. This Beagle was not merely guarding a treasure, it was safeguarding a legacy, a profound link to a past that held untold secrets, a heritage that demanded protection, even at immense personal cost. Her determination solidified. They would not abandon this site, nor this extraordinary creature. Dr. Aris Thorne, who had spent a lifetime meticulously cataloging, analyzing, and often skeptically questioning, found his scientific detachment completely shattered. The sight of the Beagle, its small form radiating a diminishing yet potent light against the backdrop of hostile drones, was an undeniable, visceral reality. The cold, logical world he had inhabited for so long had crumbled under the weight of this impossible scenario. He had seen the artifacts glow, felt their strange energy, but it was the Beagle's sacrifice, its raw, animalistic commitment, that truly transformed him. His skepticism evaporated, replaced by a profound sense of awe and an urgent need to act. He was no longer a detached observer, but an active participant in a battle for something he now instinctively understood as immensely valuable. "Captain!" Thorne's voice, usually laced with careful academic precision, was now sharp with urgency. "The drone patterns, they're mimicking a hunting formation, trying to flank us." He wasn't just observing. He was actively strategizing, his archaeological knowledge of ancient tactics now surprisingly relevant in this bizarre futuristic skirmish. He grabbed a modified EMP device, normally reserved for disabling sensitive archaeological sensors, and aimed it at a cluster of drones attempting to encircle their position. The burst of energy, though not designed for such robust targets, caused one drone to spin wildly before crashing into the sand, smoking. Sharma nodded, her gaze momentarily meeting Thorne's, a silent acknowledgement passing between them. They were united, not by protocol or scientific curiosity anymore, but by a shared, fierce desire to protect what lay beneath the sand, and the improbable guardian that had revealed it. The team members, feeding off their leader's renewed resolve, redoubled their efforts. Lasers, designed to scan and map, were repurposed to blind drone cameras. Sonic devices, meant to detect subsurface anomalies, were cranked to frequencies that disrupted the drone's aerial stability. The Beagle, sensing their renewed vigor, let out a low, rumbling growl, a sound that spoke of ancient resolve. Its light, though dimmer, pulsed with renewed intensity, pushing back against the encroaching darkness of the drone swarm. It was a symbiotic struggle now, a dance between fading magic and desperate technology. Thorn, his earlier objections a distant memory, moved with a newfound purpose, his every action geared towards assisting in the defense of the site, a silent promise to the valiant creature that had taught him more about wonder than any textbook ever could. The desert, once a place of predictable scientific pursuit, had become a crucible of confrontation, a battleground where the past and future clashed, guarded by a luminous, unwavering heart. The combined efforts of Captain Sharma, Dr. Thorne, and their dedicated team began to pay off, albeit slowly and painstakingly. Each member, fueled by a mixture of adrenaline and an almost spiritual commitment to the Beagle and its guarded treasure, pushed past their training and expectations. They repurposed every piece of equipment, turning tools of discovery into instruments of defense. Sharma, with her tactical precision, directed their meager resources, orchestrating a ballet of improvised resistance. Thorne, his mind now a formidable weapon, analyzed drone flight patterns and identified vulnerabilities, shouting commands with an authority that had been dormant for too long. He aimed the modified EMP device again, timing its release to disrupt the collective flight path of a small drone squadron, sending 2 more spiraling to the ground in puffs of sand and smoke. The ground shuddered slightly with each impact, a testament to their desperate ingenuity. Meanwhile, specialists in mapping and excavation found themselves lobbing small, dense rocks at lower-flying drones, surprisingly effective in disorienting their optical sensors. Communications experts, usually monitoring terrestrial signals, managed to hack into the drone's rudimentary frequency, broadcasting white noise and garbled commands that momentarily confused the automated attackers. It was a chaotic, yet strangely synchronized effort, each person playing a vital part in this unforeseen desert skirmish. The Beagle, its shimmering aura still faintly present, served as their beacon, a constant reminder of what they were fighting for. Its light, though fading, continued to offer a subtle field of resistance, making the drone's targeting systems less accurate, forcing them to expend more energy to penetrate the ethereal barrier. This gave the team those precious seconds they needed to react, to aim, to defend. They were fighting not just for themselves, but for this extraordinary animal and the ancient echoes it protected. But the sheer numbers of the hostile drones were overwhelming. Even with their improvised defenses and surging determination, the team was slowly being pushed back. Each successful hit on a drone was met with 2 more taking its place, their silent, mechanical hum growing louder, more menacing. The air was thick with the scent of ozone and burning circuitry, mingling with the ancient dust of the desert. The Beagle, its small body trembling with effort, let out a soft whine. Its once vibrant, protective glow was now an almost imperceptible flicker, struggling against the encroaching darkness. Sharma watched in anguish as the light around the casket and the team dimmed further, becoming less of a shield and more of a fragile, trembling halo. She could see the strain in the Beagle's eyes, the immense energy it had expended now visibly taking its toll. Suddenly, with a final, heart-wrenching whimper, the Beagle collapsed beside the casket. Its light, their miraculous shield, winked out completely, plunging them into a terrifying vulnerability. The air immediately felt heavier, colder, the mechanical hum of the drones now piercing, unimpeded. A wave of despair washed over the team. Thorne rushed to the Beagle's side, his hand gently touching its fur, feeling the rapid, shallow breaths. It's exhausted," he murmured, his voice thick with uncharacteristic emotion. It gave everything it had. He looked up at Sharma, his eyes reflecting the collective fear and grief. They had fought so hard, but without the Beagle's inexplicable power, it felt like a losing battle. The drones, sensing the collapse of the energetic barrier, pressed their advantage, moving in closer, their optical sensors glowing with malevolent intent. Sharma's heart sank, a cold knot of dread forming in her stomach. They were at the limit of their resources, their ingenuity, and their luck. She braced herself, raising her last remaining flare gun, preparing for a final, futile stand. The desert stretched around them, vast and indifferent, a witness to their impending defeat. The silence, broken only by the whirring of the drones, felt deafening, heavy with the weight of their impossible mission. But just as the first drone dipped dangerously low, its grabber arms extending, a new sound pierced the desert air, a distant, powerful thrum that vibrated through the very ground beneath their feet. It was deeper, more resonant than the drones, a sound of immense propulsion. All eyes instinctively turned towards the eastern horizon. A growing speck in the pre-dawn sky rapidly materialized into a powerful, sleek, military helicopter. Unlike any standard transport, it was a specialized reconnaissance and assault chopper, its dark silhouette cutting a path with incredible speed. Not just one, but a small formation of them, each bristling with advanced sensory equipment and defensive armaments. Hope, sharp and sudden, surged through Sharma. Her emergency beacon, activated hours ago in a moment of desperate foresight, had been struggling to cut through the jamming frequencies of the hostile drones. But it had clearly found a window. This was a specialized unit, dispatched only for situations of extreme urgency and unusual energy signatures. Precisely what her initial, fragmented reports would have hinted at. The lead helicopter, its powerful searchlight sweeping the desert floor, locked onto their position and the glowing artifacts now dimly visible within the exposed casket. The drones, previously so emboldened, hesitated. Their internal programming, geared for smaller, localized skirmishes, registered the overwhelming new threat. The sudden appearance of such advanced, heavily armed aircraft clearly outweighed whatever objective they were pursuing. One by one, then in clusters, the hostile drones broke formation, veering away from the archaeological site. They retreated with surprising speed, fading back into the darkness from which they had emerged, their mechanical hum diminishing into the vast silence of the desert. The immediate threat was gone, dispersed by the formidable presence of true military power. The specialized unit had arrived, not a moment too soon, bringing with it the promise of safety and perhaps answers. The desert air, still charged with the aftermath of the battle, now carried the heavy, reassuring beat of rotor blades. The specialized unit, a sleek, advanced military helicopter marked with the insignia of the Department of Antiquities Protection, descended with a powerful downdraft, kicking up a swirling vortex of sand. Its arrival was precisely timed, a beacon of hope in the heart of their desperate struggle. Out poured a team of uniformed, highly trained personnel, their movements swift and coordinated. They secured the perimeter with practiced ease, their advanced weaponry making short work of the lingering hostile drones that had dared to circle back. The remaining enemy crafts, sensing the overwhelming force, quickly disengaged, disappearing into the vast, darkening desert sky. The immediate threat was gone, diffused by the timely intervention. Captain Sharma, her face streaked with dust and grime, but her eyes burning with a quiet triumph, watched as the new team approached their position. Their leader, a stern-faced Major Alana Vance, saluted crisply. "Captain Sharma, Major Vance, we received your emergency beacon, deciphered a unique energy signature, and came as fast as we could." Her gaze swept over the ancient burial site, now partially exposed, and then lingered, almost imperceptibly, on the collapsed Beagle nestled beside the casket. A flicker of something unreadable crossed her features before she returned her attention to Sharma. "Major, glad you made it," Sharma replied, her voice hoarse but firm. "We've uncovered something extraordinary." she motioned towards the shallow grave, where the exquisite wooden casket and the glowing artifacts lay. Vance's team, equipped with specialized protective gear and handling tools, moved with precision, carefully documenting and packaging each artifact. The objects, once transferred into insulated containers, continued to emit their soft, internal light, a testament to their enduring power, even when shielded from the outside world. They were deemed an unprecedented discovery, not just historically significant, but radiating an energy unlike anything documented in modern science or ancient texts. This was a find that would redefine their understanding of the past, and perhaps the very fabric of reality. As the team meticulously worked, a soft whimper escaped the Beagle. All eyes turned to the small canine. After what felt like an eternity, but was likely only a few minutes of profound rest, the Beagle stirred. Its eyes fluttered open, and the faint shimmering light that had protected them all returned, though undeniably fainter than before. It pushed itself up with a visible effort, shaking off the sand, and looked directly at Captain Sharma. In that gaze, Sharma saw not just an animal, but an ancient wisdom, an undeniable understanding that transcended species. It was a look of shared purpose, of completed duty. The Beagle then glanced at the carefully packaged casket, a silent acknowledgement of the protection it had offered. In that moment of quiet observation, standing amidst the fading echoes of conflict and the promise of profound discovery, Captain Sharma realized the true scope of what they had witnessed. The Beagle was not merely guarding objects. It was a sentinel, a guardian of a profound ancient secret. It was a spiritual protector, manifesting in a form they could comprehend, guiding them towards a deeper understanding of the world. The command plans that had initially brought them to this remote desert were irrevocably changed. Their mission had shifted from a purely scientific excavation, a detached collection of artifacts, to something far more respectful, holistic, and reverent. It was a commitment to studying ancient wisdom, not just as historical relics, but as living knowledge. Major Vance, observing the interaction between the Beagle and Sharma, exchanged a brief, knowing glance with her team members. The energy signature had drawn them, yes, but the story unfolding before their eyes was far more compelling than any sensor reading. The decision was made swiftly, with a silent consensus that transcended official protocols. The Beagle, no longer a stray or a temporary anomaly, became an honorary member of the team. Its mystery, its unwavering loyalty, and its inexplicable connection to the glowing artifacts had deepened their understanding of the world in ways they could not have imagined. It was a bridge between the unseen and the concrete, between instinct and intellect. The desert, once an empty expanse of sand and rock, now held a newly revealed secret, a whispered promise of more profound discoveries, waiting to be unveiled by those open enough to perceive them. The sun began its slow ascent, casting long shadows across the landscape, illuminating the path forward into an unknown but infinitely more wondrous future. The Beagle, with a gentle nudge against Sharma's leg, seemed to agree. What incredible wisdom do you think these artifacts hold? Share your theories in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe for more incredible stories, and check out our next adventure. You won't want to miss it. The pre-dawn light was a bruise across the vast, indifferent desert sky, bleeding from deep indigo to a bruised purple, then to a faint, metallic gray along the horizon. Silence, absolute and profound, pressed down on everything, a blanket woven from sand and ancient air. The only sound for miles, for what felt like an eternity, was the rhythmic, almost desperate scratching of small paws against unforgiving earth. A lone beagle, a small splash of mottled brown and white against the ochre expanse, was digging. Its tail, usually a cheerful semaphore, was tucked low, its body taut with an unusual intensity. Its nose, wet and perpetually curious, was now a finely tuned instrument of detection, burrowing deeper into the stubborn sand. A low, persistent whimper, barely audible above the gritty scrape of claws, escaped its throat, a sound heavy with distress and a singular, unwavering purpose. The dog was not merely digging, it was excavating with a singular, frantic focus, as if its very existence depended on unearthing whatever lay hidden beneath the shifting dunes. Miles away, cloaked in the deceptive anonymity of a desert camouflage Humvee, Captain Anya Sharma meticulously adjusted the frequency on her comms unit. Her fingers, despite the early chill that permeated even the vehicle's insulated interior, were steady and precise. Anya was a woman carved from efficiency and logic, her mind a finely calibrated machine. Her dark hair was pulled back in a severe, no-nonsense bun, framing a face usually set in an expression of intense concentration. As the leader of a small, specialized archaeological reconnaissance unit, operating in this remote and politically sensitive quadrant of the world, she embodied pragmatic leadership. Her mission, sanctioned at the highest levels, was clear: locate and secure ancient artifacts of immense cultural or historical significance. This desert, a silent witness to millennia, was rumored to hold secrets that could rewrite the very annals of civilization. Anya led a team of highly trained individuals, each a specialist in their field, and together they moved with the practiced stealth of shadows across the desolate landscape. Their protocols were strict, their movements covert, their focus unwavering. Distractions were anathema to their highly sensitive operations, which was why the sudden, unexpected blip on her long-range thermal scanner, registering a small, anomalous heat signature approximately 3 clicks north, was so jarring. "Sergeant Miller," Anya's voice was crisp, cutting through the low hum of the vehicle. "Confirm that reading. We have an unidentified biological signature, small, mammalian, and stationary." Miller, a burly but surprisingly gentle giant with a knack for electronics, peered at his screen, toggling filters. "Confirmed, Captain. Source appears to be canine, single animal." His brow furrowed. "No ID tags, no tracking chip signature. And it's not moving. Just burrowing, according to the ground vibrations." Anya leaned forward, her gaze straying from the mission maps to the distant, still dark horizon. A lone dog in this unforgiving wilderness was not just unusual. It was an anomaly demanding explanation. This was not a region frequented by pets, nor was it known for stray populations. The very presence of the animal, apparently abandoned and clearly distressed, immediately created a ripple of conflict within the unit's rigid protocols. Every fiber of Anya's being screamed to maintain focus, to adhere to the meticulously planned trajectory towards their primary target. Yet, the faint whimper, now transmitted through their directional audio, pierced through her pragmatic resolve. It was a plea, a raw, undeniable cry for help. "Captain," Miller continued, his voice laced with a hint of concern, "it sounds distraught, and it's really going at that sand." Anya knew the ethical dilemma instantly. Weighing the urgency of their mission, a geological survey pinpointing ancient burial sites, against the immediate suffering of a creature was a complex calculus. Her training dictated mission first. Her humanity, however, pulled in a different direction. A lost dog was a distraction, a potential breach of their cover, an unknown variable in a landscape designed to be predictable in its hostility. But the persistent, almost desperate sound of digging, the unwavering focus of that small animal, hinted at something far more profound than mere abandonment. It wasn't aimless, it was purposeful. The Beagle wasn't just surviving, it was guarding. "Hold our position," Anya finally commanded, the words feeling foreign on her tongue. "Sergeant, prepare the drone for a low-altitude recon. Keep it silent. We need eyes on that animal. Private Davies, ready a basic medical kit just in case." A collective murmur of surprise rippled through the team. Their mission was paramount, and even a slight deviation could have serious geopolitical repercussions. But Anya had seen enough in her years of service to recognize when an anomaly wasn't just an anomaly, but a signal. This beagle, digging tirelessly in the pre-dawn desert, was not just lost. It was communicating. It was pointing towards something hidden, something important. And whatever it was compelling enough to make a small dog defy the vast loneliness of the desert. The dog's relentless excavation suggested a secret, a testament to something buried beneath layers of time and sand. Before we uncover what this brave beagle is guarding, make sure to hit that subscribe button and join our incredible community. The beagle's frantic digging continued, a relentless, almost desperate pawing at the earth that seemed utterly oblivious to the growing group of humans around it. Its small body, a blur of motion, sent sprays of sand flying, creating a small, ever-deepening crater. Captain Anya Sharma, initially observing with a mixture of curiosity and growing impatience, knew that protocols dictated a swift return to their primary objective. They were losing precious daylight, and every second spent diverted from their mission was a potential complication in this volatile region. Yet, there was something in the dog's single-minded intensity, an almost primal urgency, that compelled her to hold back. It wasn't just a stray dog, it was a force of nature, a tiny furry excavator focused on a singular, unseen goal. She radioed her team, her voice a low, controlled tone. Hold primary mission for 5. Investigate K9's focus point. Subsurface scans, please. A wave of murmurs rippled through the unit, a blend of surprise and mild exasperation. They were trained for precision, for archaeological finds, not for animal welfare detours. But Anya's command was final. As the team adjusted their equipment, the beagle paused only to let out a series of sharp, insistent barks, as if urging them to hurry, to understand. Its ears twitched, its nose worked furiously, confirming to Anya that this wasn't random play. This dog was trying to tell them something vital. Suddenly, Dr. Aris Thorne's clipped voice cut through the comms. Thorne, a brilliant but notoriously pragmatic archaeologist, was Sharma's second-in-command and the mission's lead scientific authority. Captain, with all due respect, our mission parameters do not include K9-assisted excavations. We have a strict timeline, and every minute spent on this diversion jeopardizes our primary objective. This region is not known for its domesticated animal populations, especially not purebred beagles. It's likely a recent abandonment, and its behavior, while curious, falls outside our professional scope. His tone was dry, laced with an undeniable edge of irritation. Thorne was a man of logic, of quantifiable data, and a barking dog held no scientific value in his meticulously constructed world. Anya clenched her jaw, suppressing a sigh. She respected Thorne's dedication, but his unwavering adherence to the letter of their mission often blinded him to the unexpected. Dr. Thorne, my senses are picking up unusual subsurface anomalies directly beneath the dog's activity, not natural formations. Man-made, possibly. Give me 5 more minutes. If nothing conclusive, we move on. She knew this was a gamble, a test of her own intuition against Thorne's rigorous scientific dogma. The team's ground-penetrating radar, now being deployed, began to hum, its digital display flickering with initial readings. The anomalies were faint, but distinct. Regular shapes, not geological fault lines or rock formations. They suggested something deliberately placed, buried just beneath the surface. The beagle, as if sensing their growing interest, dug with renewed fervor, its tiny claws scraping against something solid. Thorne, ever the realist, responded with a skeptical grunt. Anomalies can be anything, Captain. Ancient irrigation, geological quirks, or even localized magnetic interference. We're wasting resources. His focus was always on the bigger picture, the large-scale archaeological sites, the potential for groundbreaking discoveries that would cement his reputation. A single, small, subsurface anomaly, especially one indicated by a stray dog, was beneath his consideration. He viewed the beagle as a distraction, a potential threat to their meticulously planned schedule, and, in a region where time meant safety, a genuine liability. The tension between their approaches was a constant hum beneath the surface of their professional relationship. Despite Thorn's objections, Anya felt an undeniable pull towards the Beagle's insistence. There was an intelligence in its eyes, a directedness in its actions that transcended mere animal instinct. "Override, Dr. Thorn. Authorize limited excavation. 2 meters maximum depth, direct over the anomaly. Specialist Rivas, prepare the small toolkit. Thorn, monitor the GPR for any changes as they progress." She turned to the team, her voice projecting authority. "Safety first, always. Anything unusual, we stop." As Specialist Rivas began to carefully clear the sand, the Beagle's demeanor shifted. It stopped digging, but its body became rigid, its low growl a constant rumble in its chest. Its tail, which had occasionally wagged with an almost frantic energy, now bristled. Its protective stance was unmistakable. It stood guard directly over the spot where Rivas was working, occasionally nipping playfully, then with a sharper, more serious warning, at the air whenever Rivas got too close. It was behaving less like a lost, friendly pet seeking help, and more like a sentinel, a fierce guardian defending something incredibly precious buried beneath its paws. The small dog, which had seemed so vulnerable just moments before, now exuded an aura of fierce loyalty and ownership, its eyes fixed on the deepening hole with an unblinking intensity that sent a chill down Anya's spine. This was no ordinary animal, and whatever lay beneath was clearly something it held dear. The desert wind, picking up slightly, whispered ancient secrets around them, as the first glint of something unnatural began to emerge from the sand. The team, spurred by the Beagle's unwavering focus and Captain Sharma's decisive order, began the cautious excavation. Dr. Thorn, though outwardly composed, watched with a tension that betrayed his internal conflict, his scientific skepticism warring with the undeniable pull of the unknown. The ground, a mix of ancient sand and hardened earth, yielded slowly to their specialized tools. Each scrape, each brushstroke, was performed with a meticulous precision born of experience, yet overlaid with a palpable sense of anticipation. The subsurface anomalies detected earlier by their equipment had prepared them for something unusual, but nothing could truly prepare them for the sight that greeted them as the top layers of earth gave way. Revealed beneath the parched surface were not jumbled rocks or debris, but carefully arranged stones, small and flat, forming an unmistakable pattern. It was a deliberate structure, a protective layer for something hidden beneath. As the last of these stones were gently lifted away, a shallow, ancient burial site came into view. The air immediately grew still, a hush falling over the team as the weight of the reveal settled upon them. This was no ordinary find. The sheer care taken in its concealment spoke volumes of its significance. At that very moment, the Beagle, which had been pacing agitatedly around the edges of their excavation, let out a mournful, drawn-out howl. It was a sound laced with an ancient sorrow, a poignant lament that seemed to echo the silence of the desert. The sound sent a shiver down Sharma's spine, resonating with a primeval understanding. It wasn't a bark of excitement or fear, but a cry of recognition, of profound connection to what lay exposed. Then, with an almost humanistic tenderness, the Beagle nudged its nose into the remaining loose sand within the site, meticulously pushing it aside. Its actions were precise, deliberate, as if it knew exactly where to uncover the next layer, revealing its cherished secret. And there it was. Nestled within the shallow depression, now fully visible thanks to the Beagle's assistance, lay a small, exquisitely preserved wooden casket. Its craftsmanship was unlike anything the team had ever encountered in the region. The wood, a dark, unknown species, was intricately carved with symbols that seemed to writhe and flow, telling a story lost to time. It was deceptively simple in form, yet radiated an aura of immense age and importance. The The team exchanged wide-eyed glances, their previous archaeological assumptions shattering around them. This was not just a burial, it was a carefully curated repository, protected for millennia. Captain Sharma, with gloved hands, reached out and gently unlatched the delicate clasp. The hinges, surprisingly intact, gave a soft sigh as the lid was slowly lifted. The early dawn light, now beginning to permeate the desert, seemed to gather and intensify within the casket's confines, revealing its contents. Inside, they found not human remains, nor animal bones as one might expect from a burial of this nature. Instead, a collection of ancient artifacts rested upon a bed of what looked like finely woven, iridescent fabric. Each item was small, meticulously crafted and utterly astonishing. And then, the true revelation struck them. Each artifact, from small polished stones to delicate metallic constructs, was imbued with a powerful, inexplicable glow. It was a soft, internal luminescence, pulsing with a gentle rhythm, casting ethereal shadows within the casket. The colors shifted subtly, from deep azure to emerald green, then to a soft, golden amber. This wasn't phosphorescence, it was an inherent, living light, defying all known scientific principles. Among these glowing treasures, one artifact immediately drew their collective gaze. It was a small, intricately carved statue of a dog, almost identical in proportion and form to the Beagle standing beside them, now silent and watchful. This canine effigy, crafted from a smooth, obsidian-like material, emitted the strongest light of all. Its glow was a steady, pure white, radiating warmth and an almost palpable sense of peace. The statue's eyes, tiny polished gems, seemed to reflect an intelligence, a deep, ancient wisdom. The sight of this glowing dog statue, mirroring their living companion, brought a collective gasp from the team. The Beagle, in turn, let out a soft whine, nuzzling its head against Sharma's leg, its gaze fixed on the statue as if recognizing an old friend, or perhaps a reflection of itself. This discovery immediately and fundamentally changed the team's understanding of the site's significance. This was not merely an archaeological find. It was something far, far beyond their initial scope, challenging the very bedrock of their scientific training. The artifacts were not just ancient. They were alive with an unknown energy, pulsating with an almost spiritual essence. The Beagle's presence, its frantic digging, its mournful howl, and its protective stance now made perfect, if inexplicable, sense. It had led them to a secret, a legacy protected by the desert, and now it was openly revealing its profound connection to it. The desert, once a canvas for their meticulous scientific work, had unveiled a secret that would undoubtedly rewrite chapters of history, forcing them to confront the possibility of ancient technologies, or perhaps even magic, that transcended their modern comprehension. The glowing dog statue, a sentinel mirroring the living sentinel, was the undeniable proof. The soft, rhythmic pulsing of light emanating from the ancient artifacts within the casket cast an ethereal glow over the sandy excavation site, washing the faces of Captain Sharma's team in shifting hues of azure, emerald, and gold. A profound, almost tangible sense of tranquility settled over them, a stark contrast to the urgent, methodical pace that had defined their mission mere moments before. Even Dr. Aris Thorne, usually a bastion of academic skepticism, found himself uncharacteristically quiet, his brow furrowed not in doubt, but in a burgeoning sense of wonder. His gaze drifted from the mesmerizing glow of the dog statue to the living Beagle, now curled contentedly beside the opened casket, its head resting on its paws, its eyes, ordinarily so alert, now softened with an inexplicable calm. The dog, a silent guardian, seemed to radiate a gentle, protective energy that embraced the entire team, weaving a subtle tapestry of peace into the harsh desert air. Captain Sharma felt it too, a warmth spreading through her chest that momentarily dulled the sharp edges of her military training and the rigorous logic she applied to every situation. This was not a geological phenomenon, nor an archaeological quirk. This was something else entirely, something that resonated with a deeper, more ancient part of humanity. The sheer, undeniable presence of the energy, the inexplicable luminescence, defied every scientific explanation she had ever learned. It was as if the desert itself had briefly opened a portal to another reality, one where the boundaries between the material and the spiritual blurred into insignificance. The Beagle, truly, was no ordinary stray. It was a conduit, a sentinel, perhaps even a manifestation of the very energy they were now witnessing. Her mind, usually so focused on data and analysis, found itself grappling with concepts of spirit, of ancient guardians, of a world far richer and more mysterious than her rigorous scientific education had ever allowed her to consider. This was not just a discovery, it was an awakening, a redefinition of her understanding of existence itself. The serene atmosphere, however, was destined to be fleeting. Just as Sharma began to internalize the profound implications of their find, a faint, almost imperceptible hum reached her ears. It was a sound she knew intimately, a high-pitched metallic drone, usually indicative of aerial reconnaissance. Her training immediately kicked in, cutting through the haze of wonder. She reached for the comms unit strapped to her vest, her fingers quickly toggling through frequencies. Static. Then, a series of urgent beeps. The long-range sensors, which had been silent for days in this remote, unmonitored region, were now screaming in alert. Multiple contacts, low altitude, high speed. Unidentified. "Captain," her lead tech, Anya, reported, her voice tight with concern through the earpiece. "I'm picking up unusual aerial activity. Multiple signatures, inbound, fast. Definitely not ours. And they're converging on our position." A cold dread began to seep into Sharma's bones, displacing the spiritual warmth. The glowing artifacts, once a source of peace, now felt like a beacon, drawing unwanted attention. The energy they emitted, so calming to her team, was clearly detectable, a powerful signature cutting through the vast desert emptiness. Someone else, some unknown entity, was aware of their find, and they were approaching with alarming speed. This was no longer a quiet archaeological excavation. It had escalated into a highly volatile situation. The stakes, already immeasurable due to the artifact's historical value, had just become exponentially higher. Their isolation, once a blessing, was now a dangerous vulnerability. She looked at Dr. Thorne, whose face had visibly paled at the tech's report. The flicker of awe that had momentarily softened his features was now replaced by a familiar tension, but it was different this time. There was no scoffing, no dismissive remark about distractions. Instead, his gaze was fixed on the glowing casket, then on the sleeping Beagle, a dawning realization in his eyes that transcended mere academic interest. He understood, as she did, that they were no longer simply uncovering history. They were defending it. His earlier scientific strictures, his rigid adherence to quantifiable data, were being irrevocably altered by the sheer, undeniable presence of what lay before them. The Beagle's inexplicable connection to the site, its unwavering protectiveness, had become a testament to a force far greater than any of them had conceived. Sharma, too, felt her own scientific understanding of the world shifting, bending under the weight of this extraordinary experience. The pure rationality she prided herself on was now tempered by a profound, almost mystical sense of wonder, and crucially, a fierce instinct for protection. This small, abandoned Beagle had opened her eyes not just to ancient artifacts, but to the boundless mysteries of the universe, and now, it seemed, to imminent danger. The humming in the distance grew louder, more distinct, marking the inexorable approach of the unknown. The ethereal glow emanating from the unearthed artifacts, particularly the radiant dog statue, wove a strange, calming spell over Captain Sharma's team, momentarily dissolving the desert's harsh realities. Even the perennially skeptical Dr. Thorne found himself captivated, a flicker of genuine awe softening the usual hard lines of his academic facade. The Beagle, its silent vigil unbroken, sat protectively beside the ancient casket, its own eyes reflecting the mystical light. Sharma felt a profound shift within her, a quiet understanding blooming from the inexplicable connection between the animal and these ancient wonders. This was no mere archaeological dig. It was an encounter with something sacred, something imbued with a power that defied modern categorization. However, the fleeting tranquility was abruptly shattered by the stark reality of their situation. A shrill, insistent alarm pierced the desert air, cutting through the artifact's gentle hum. The team's long-range sensors, usually a reliable harbinger of distant mundane events, screamed a warning of immediate, escalating danger. Red lights flashed across Sharma's tactical display, indicating multiple fast-moving aerial contacts. "Drones!" The voice of Corporal Jenkins, their comms specialist, crackled through the earpiece, laced with an urgency that sent a jolt through everyone. "Multiple unidentified aerial vehicles closing fast, Captain. Their flight profiles are highly aggressive, non-standard for reconnaissance." Sharma's mind, trained for rapid assessment in high-stakes environments, immediately grasped the gravity of their predicament. The serene energy of the artifacts, while spiritually profound, had inadvertently become a beacon, drawing unwanted attention. The unique energy signature, so alien to their technological understanding, was likely the precise magnet that had pulled these unknown entities toward them. The immediate danger wasn't just to their lives, but to the invaluable, irreplaceable discoveries they had just uncovered. "Status of hostile contacts?" Sharma demanded, her voice cutting through the rising tension, authority reasserted. "Estimated time to engagement, Captain. 3 minutes, maximum," Jenkins replied, his fingers flying across his console. "They're not commercial, not military. No identifiable transponders. They're accelerating." A cold dread seeped into Sharma's gut. This wasn't a random encounter. These craft were hunting. They were designed for speed and stealth, and their current trajectory indicated a direct approach to their location. There was no doubt they were after the artifacts, or perhaps the knowledge they represented. "Thorne, secure the casket," Sharma commanded, her eyes sweeping the desolate landscape, searching for any tactical advantage, however small. "Jenkins, prepare countermeasures. Green, establish a defensive perimeter. Use non-lethal deterrents only unless absolutely necessary. We are protecting these artifacts above all else." Her voice, though firm, carried an underlying tremor of desperation. The dilemma was stark, brutal in its clarity. She had a small team, lightly armed, designed for archaeological recovery, not combat. Against unknown, advanced drones, their chances were slim. Logically, the safest course of action would be to abandon the site, retreat to a secure location, and call for extraction. But the artifacts, the glowing, living artifacts, and the extraordinary Beagle guarding them, they were too precious. To abandon them would be a betrayal of something ancient, and perhaps infinitely more important than their own lives. Her oath was to protect history, to safeguard discoveries. This was the ultimate test. As if understanding the impending peril, the Beagle, which had been silent for so long, let out a low, guttural growl, its body tensing. Its protective stance intensified, shifting from merely guarding the casket to encompassing the entire team. Its gaze was fixed on the distant horizon where the drone signatures were rapidly converging. A strange, almost imperceptible shimmer began to emanate from the dog's fur, a faint echo of the light pulsing from the artifacts. It was as if the Beagle was drawing strength from the very objects it guarded, preparing for the inevitable confrontation. "Captain," Thorne called out, his voice hoarse with effort as he carefully began to cover the casket with a heavy, insulated tarp. a futile gesture against the imminent aerial assault. "There's no cover out here. We're sitting ducks." His skepticism had vanished, replaced by a grim determination. He understood the stakes now. Sharma knew he was right. The desert offered no refuge. Her eyes fixed on the Beagle, its faint light growing stronger, now a distinct, shimmering aura outlining its form. It was a phenomenon impossible to explain, yet undeniably real. She felt a surge of conviction. They couldn't run. This was where they stood their ground. This ancient legacy, this profound secret, would not fall into unknown hands without a fight. The approaching drones, now visible as dark, menacing specks against the brightening dawn sky, began to descend. Their forms were sleek, predatory, devoid of any identifying marks. A low, pulsating hum, growing louder with each passing second, filled the air, a terrifying counterpoint to the desert's usual silence. The first drone dipped lower, revealing an array of optical sensors and what looked like weapon hardpoints. This was no mere observation team. Just as the lead drone committed to its attack vector, aiming directly for their position, an astonishing event unfolded. The Beagle, with a powerful, silent exertion, seemed to pull an invisible energy from the very air around it. The faint shimmer surrounding its body intensified dramatically, blossoming into a vibrant, ethereal shield of pure shimmering light. This light, a brilliant pulsating white, surged outward from the Beagle, encompassing the entire burial site and the huddled team within its protective embrace. The drone, caught within this sudden, unexpected energy field, faltered. Its sleek form shuddered violently in mid-air, its propulsion systems emitting a high-pitched, distressed whine. The optical sensors flickered erratically, and its aggressive descent immediately ceased, replaced by a chaotic, uncontrolled wobble. It veered sharply, spinning wildly before recovering partially, forced to circle wide, unable to penetrate the luminous barrier. The other approaching drones reacted similarly, their advanced guidance systems thrown into disarray by the Beagle's inexplicable energy burst. They too were forced to pull back, maintaining a cautious distance, their movements no longer precise and menacing, but hesitant and disoriented. A collective gasp of disbelief and awe escaped the team. Thorne's jaw hung open. Jenkins stared at his console, the drone readouts now showing erratic, fluctuating energy signatures, momentarily overwhelming their systems. The Beagle, though visibly strained, stood tall within its radiant shield, a beacon of defiance in the face of the encroaching threat. Its eyes, now glowing with an intensity mirroring the dog statue, seemed to hold an ancient wisdom, an unwavering resolve. This was not just a dog, it was a guardian, an ancient protector awakened in their time of need. The desert, once silent, now hummed with the interplay of ancient magic and modern technology, locked in a tense, unpredictable standoff. Sharma knew with absolute certainty that her command plans had indeed irrevocably changed. The distant hum of the approaching drones intensified, a harsh, mechanical counterpoint to the soft, ancient glow emanating from the unearthed casket. Captain Sharma, pulling her gaze from the mesmerizing artifacts, felt an icy dread grip her chest. These were not the scouting drones she'd expected. Their aggressive trajectory and menacing silhouettes against the pale sky spoke of hostile intent. The Beagle, its protective light still shimmering around the precious burial site, let out a low, guttural growl, a sound far removed from its earlier mournful whines. Its small body tensed, radiating an almost visible will to defend. "Thorne, defensive perimeter. Non-lethal deterrence active." Sharma's voice cut through the growing tension, sharp and authoritative. Dr. Thorne, his earlier scientific detachment utterly shattered, nodded grimly, already moving to deploy the sonic emitters and dazzle grenades. His hands, usually steady for delicate archaeological work, now trembled slightly with adrenaline. The team, snapping out of their awe, scrambled to follow Sharma's commands, their training kicking in despite the surreal circumstances. They knew their equipment was designed for deterrence, not outright combat, especially against military-grade drones. The first drone, a sleek black predator, swooped low, its optical sensors undoubtedly locking onto the energy signature of the artifacts. It fired a high-frequency pulse, designed to disorient and disable. But as the energy wave hit the Beagle's shimmering aura, it seemed to dissipate, fizzling out harmlessly. The drone veered sharply, confused, before attempting another pass. The Beagle, however, visibly strained. Its light flickered, a momentary dimming that sent a jolt of fear through Sharma. This wasn't merely a display, it was an active defense, and it was clearly taxing the animal. "Its energy field is being depleted," Thorn shouted, fumbling with a handheld sonic disruptor. He aimed it at the closest drone, unleashing a focused burst. The drone wobbled, its rotors sputtering, before it righted itself and resumed its menacing advance. Their non-lethal tools were proving barely effective against such determined aggressors. More drones appeared on the horizon, a relentless swarm closing in. The desert, once a tableau of quiet mystery, had become a battleground. Sharma watched the Beagle, its small frame trembling, its unwavering gaze fixed on the approaching threats. She saw not just an animal, but a guardian, a selfless protector offering its very essence to safeguard an ancient legacy. A profound wave of empathy washed over her, deepening her resolve. This dog, this magnificent creature, was sacrificing itself, just as countless beings had likely done throughout history to preserve what they deemed sacred. Its dedication transcended mere instinct. It spoke of a deep-seated connection, a spiritual contract perhaps millennia old. It wasn't just guarding a treasure, it was embodying a sacred trust. The world, her world, the one she understood through logic and data, was crumbling around her, replaced by a reality far more ancient, far more profound. Dr. Thorne, seeing the Beagle's fading light, shed any remnants of his former skepticism. The sight of this small animal, bravely facing down advanced technology with nothing but its intrinsic energy, had shattered his scientific preconceptions. He was no longer a cynical academic. He was a man witnessing a miracle, and he would not let it be destroyed. His focus narrowed, his movements precise and deliberate. He aimed the sonic disruptor again, this time holding the beam steady, ignoring the drone's evasive maneuvers. The intense sound waves finally caused the drone to lose altitude, spiraling into the sand with a crunch of metal and plastic. A small victory, but a victory nonetheless. "We need to create a physical barrier," Thorne yelled, grabbing sandbags from their supply crate. "The energy field is weakening. It can't hold them all." His voice, usually modulated and calm, was now raw with urgency. He worked with a frantic energy, his previous disdain for superstition replaced by a fervent desire to protect the extraordinary. He was acutely aware that the Beagle, this improbable sentinel, was buying them precious moments, moments they had to utilize to their fullest. Sharma, witnessing Thorne's transformation, felt a surge of respect. He had seen the truth, just as she had, and it had irrevocably changed him. "Everyone, help Thorne. Fortify the perimeter around the casket," she commanded, directing her team to pile rocks and sandbags, forming a crude but effective shield. The air crackled with the energy of the drones and the last vestiges of the Beagle's protective aura. Each flicker of its light was a pang in Sharma's heart, a visceral reminder of its selflessness. The drones, sensing the weakening defense, pressed their attack with renewed vigor. They began firing projectile rounds, impacting the sand around the Beagle and the casket, kicking up plumes of dust. The team ducked for cover, their non-lethal gear proving woefully inadequate against kinetic weaponry. One projectile struck the pile of sandbags, tearing the Sorudiyapslap. The Beagle whined, its head dropping slightly, its light dimming further, but still it held its ground, a beacon of defiant loyalty. Sharma, her comms still jammed, knew they were on their own. She looked at the Beagle, its eyes, now clouded with strain, still met hers with an unyielding determination. This was more than a mission. It was a testament to life, to ancient secrets, and to an unbreakable bond. She would not let this courageous guardian, this living testament to a forgotten past, fall. She grabbed her sidearm, a last resort she never thought she would use in an archaeological expedition, and aimed it at the closest drone. Her resolve hardened. They would protect the Beagle. They would protect the casket. They would protect the legacy, no matter the cost. The desert wind carried the sounds of battle, a desperate clash between modern technology and ancient ethereal power, all centered around a small, brave Beagle. The crack of Sharma's sidearm echoed through the pre-dawn stillness, a stark punctuation mark in the ongoing battle against the relentless drones. Her shots, precise and calculated, managed to inflict superficial damage on the metallic attackers, buying precious seconds. Thorn, meanwhile, roared instructions, directing the team to reinforce weak points in their hastily constructed defenses. They worked with a synchronized desperation, a unit forged not by drills and protocols, but by the raw, immediate need to survive and protect. Each team member, seeing the Beagle's unwavering resolve, found an unexpected wellspring of courage. They were no longer just scientists or soldiers. They were guardians of something profound, a silent pact made with the fading, shimmering dog. Corporal Evans, usually quiet and methodical, used his compact shovel with surprising force, digging a deeper trench around the casket while Specialist Rahman rigged a makeshift deflector shield from a spare solar panel, hoping to catch some of the incoming projectiles. The combined effort, though rudimentary against such advanced adversaries, began to yield results. Sharma, demonstrating an unexpected tactical flair, identified patterns in the drone's attack vectors. She directed her team to focus their limited disruptor fire on specific points, creating temporary blind spots or forcing the drones into predictable evasive maneuvers. Thorn, with his renewed intensity, became an indispensable asset, his keen observational skills allowing him to anticipate the drone's next moves, guiding the team's defensive actions. They were a bizarre, yet effective orchestra of defiance, their movements dictated by the ebb and flow of the aerial assault and the increasingly sporadic flickers of light emanating from the collapsing Beagle. Several drones, their sophisticated systems overwhelmed by the chaotic, yet coordinated resistance, began to falter. One, hit by a precisely aimed sonic burst from Thorn, and then a well-placed shot from Sharma, tumbled from the sky, impacting the sand with a metallic shriek. Another, its optical sensors blinded by Rahman's impromptu deflector, veered wildly before crashing into a rock outcrop, exploding in a shower of sparks. Small victories, but each one fueled their dwindling hope and strengthened their resolve. They were pushing back, against all odds, their raw human ingenuity and courage momentarily outmatching the cold efficiency of artificial intelligence. But the cost was evident in the Beagle. Its luminous aura, once a vibrant shield, was now barely a flicker, like a dying ember in the wind. Its small body trembled with exhaustion, its labored breaths shallow and ragged. It lay prone beside the casket, its gaze still fixed on the team, a silent message of trust and endurance. Sharma knelt beside it during a brief lull, gently stroking its head. The warmth of its fur was almost gone, replaced by a chilling coolness, and the profound energy that had emanated from it was now barely perceptible. A wave of sorrow, sharp and raw, washed over her. It looked as though the brave little guardian had given its all, its sacred duty fulfilled to the very last ounce of its strength. The remaining drones, perhaps sensing the Beagle's imminent collapse, regrouped, their movements becoming more aggressive, more targeted. It felt like a final, desperate surge against a weakened foe. Hope, which had briefly ignited with their small victories, began to wane under the sheer weight of the overwhelming numbers. Just as the drones prepared for their final, decisive assault, a deep, pulsating thrum began to fill the desert air, growing rapidly from a distant hum to a resonant roar that vibrated through the very ground. The team looked up, their faces etched with exhaustion and dread, expecting more enemy reinforcements. But what appeared on the horizon was not another squadron of hostile drones. Instead, a large advanced military helicopter, its dark silhouette stark against the lightening sky, rapidly approached. Its powerful rotors kicked up massive clouds of sand, creating a blinding vortex. The unmistakable insignia of the Regional Peacekeeping Force, a specialized unit known for its rapid deployment and advanced capabilities, was clearly visible on its side. It was the cavalry, finally answering Sharma's emergency beacon, a beacon that had struggled through layers of atmospheric interference and the drone's jamming signals. The appearance of the helicopter was instantaneous and decisive. The remaining hostile drones, their advanced sensors likely identifying the superior firepower and electronic warfare capabilities of the incoming military aircraft, immediately broke formation. Their collective programming, geared towards self-preservation and avoidance of direct, unwinnable confrontation, kicked in. They veered sharply, disappearing into the vast expanse of the desert as quickly as they had arrived, their threat dissolved by the overwhelming presence of a legitimate military force. The roaring thrum of the helicopter, now directly overhead, was a sound of salvation, a grand, sweeping resolution to their desperate ordeal. The immediate threat was gone, dispersed like smoke, leaving behind a silence that was almost deafening in its suddenness, broken only by the rhythmic beat of the helicopter blades. The team, battered and exhausted, exchanged weary glances of relief, their bodies slumping with the sudden release of tension. They had held the line, against impossible odds, and just in the nick of time. But the cost was heavy, etched on their faces, and most visibly in the silent, motionless form of the Beagle resting beside the casket. The thrum of a much larger rotorcraft sliced through the din of the drone attack, a sound vastly different from the whirring menace of the airborne adversaries. It was a sound of salvation, a deep, reassuring pulse that instantly sent a ripple of hope through the beleaguered team. The remaining hostile drones, their sensors clearly detecting an overwhelming new threat, abruptly broke off their assault, scattering like mechanical insects before a predator. They vanished into the vast expanse of the desert sky, leaving an eerie silence in their wake, broken only by the approaching helicopter. The specialized military unit, a sleek, state-of-the-art marvel of engineering, descended with precision, kicking up a colossal cloud of sand. As the dust settled, heavily armed personnel disembarked, their movements swift and professional. They were a rapid response team, their presence a testament to the advanced capabilities of their command, undoubtedly drawn by the potent energy signature emanating from the ancient artifacts and the Beagle's final, desperate surge of protective power. Their arrival, though late, was perfectly timed, a true deus ex machina that saved the day. Captain Sharma, her adrenaline still coursing but now tinged with relief, quickly briefed the unit's commanding officer on the extraordinary events that had unfolded. She pointed to the now quiet burial site, the shimmering wooden casket, and the remarkable Beagle, still lying exhausted beside it. The new team moved with practiced efficiency, securing the perimeter and carefully assessing the unique situation. Specialized equipment, far more advanced than anything Sharma's archaeological unit possessed, was deployed to analyze the energy readings from the artifacts. The results were astounding, confirming what Sharma had instinctively known. This was a discovery of unprecedented historical and energetic significance, something far beyond the realm of conventional archaeology. The artifacts, gently removed from their sand-filled sanctuary, were carefully packaged in custom-designed, energy-dampening containers. Their inner glow, though contained, still hinted at their profound power. The intricately carved dog figurine, in particular, seemed to pulse with a muted living light. As the last artifact was secured, a soft whimper escaped the Beagle. All eyes turned to the small dog. It stirred, pushing itself up with a visible effort. Its eyes, which had been clouded with strain, cleared, fixed once again on Captain Sharma. A faint, ethereal light, brighter than before, but still delicate, now emanated from its scruffy fur. The intense exhaustion of its ordeal had exacted a heavy toll, but its spirit remained unbroken. The Beagle, now standing, albeit somewhat unsteadily, took a few tentative steps towards the newly sealed container holding the wooden casket. It sniffed at the cool metal, then looked back at Sharma, its gaze conveying an undeniable understanding, a deep, silent message that transcended species and language. It was a silent affirmation, a trust bestowed, a legacy entrusted. Commander Davies, the leader of the specialized unit, a man who had seen many strange things in his career, watched the interaction with a bewildered awe. Even his hardened skepticism was cracking under the weight of this extraordinary encounter. Captain Sharma felt a profound realization settle over her. The Beagle was not merely guarding ancient objects, it was guarding a profound ancient secret, a spiritual legacy. Its role was that of a sentinel, a protector chosen by forces they could barely comprehend. This was not just a dog, it was a manifestation of ancient wisdom, a living echo of a forgotten age, perhaps a guardian spirit that had taken a form comprehensible to modern human sensibilities. The command plans for their mission, initially focused on basic archaeological exploration, were indeed irrevocably changed. This was no longer just about digging up relics. It was about understanding a deeper connection between the past and the present, between the material and the ethereal. The purely scientific excavation had transformed into a respectful, holistic study, a quest to unlock the spiritual and energetic wisdom embedded within these ancient discoveries. Dr. Thorne, now completely transformed from the cynical archaeologist he once was, knelt beside the Beagle, gently stroking its head. His awe outweighed any lingering scientific qualms. "He's extraordinary, Captain," Thorne murmured, his voice filled with a reverence Sharma had never heard from him before. "Absolutely extraordinary." The Beagle, no longer alone in its monumental task, became an honorary member of the team. Its mystery, its unwavering loyalty, and its inexplicable connection to the ancient artifacts deepened their understanding of the world in ways they could never have anticipated. It was a living bridge between the rational world of science and the enigmatic realm of ancient magic. As the specialized unit prepared for extraction, the vast desert stretched out around them, silent once more, but now holding a newly revealed secret, a profound truth whispered by the winds and guarded by a remarkable furry friend. The silent promise of more profound discoveries, of further layers of understanding, hung heavy in the air, a compelling invitation to explore the unknown. They had witnessed something truly exceptional, and their lives, and perhaps the course of human history, would never be the same. The journey was far from over. It had only just begun. The desert, an eternal witness, kept its counsel, its sands ready to unveil more wonders to those brave enough to seek them, and open enough to understand.